Okay, welcome to the Daily Loop video. We already had a go at recording this a bit and realised a few minutes in that we weren't recording the audio. So we didn't get far, but we did get through the transfer bids and we did accept one. Well, we only received one and we accepted it. What I can do, it was one of the bench players on the youth team. It was this guy. So it was, I think it was 170,000. So, yeah, we sold him for that much. He was on the bench. He had 5 appearances, something like that, off the bench for the youth team. He was used a bit, so we swapped him out for another guy. Yeah, so the 170 matters a bit for us, and this guy's just never really going to make it in the senior team, so we're happy to do that one. Sorry, 169,000 it was. So, right, let's look at the scouted players. Sorting my position. So this 19-year-old keeper, yeah, I think we're back into the, definitely an upgrade over what we got and blah, but we just can't afford to tie up this kind of resources to something that's just for the youth team, and I don't think he's quite there to be the senior keeper. I think if he developed a lot, he might make it, but there is an issue that for a keeper who's 19, that's a pretty low ceiling. Like you can see, for example, normally ceilings are higher in younger players, and you can see all of these older players all have a higher ceiling, so he's not going to develop a lot relatively. And then I'm also concerned of this parrying, handling, and agility, that they're just too low for the 3 of them in combination. He's got some other. He's all right though, but yeah, like I said, I think if this ceiling was like 76, let's say, which would be really, really high, but if it was, then maybe we would consider it, to be honest, because it'd be worth, because he would start for our seniors potentially when we sell the other keeper. He'd get a lot of appearances. He would have a lot of scope to get a lot of good training options and progress a lot. He has got a decent training option coming up. But yeah, I think we're just going to pass. If we're going to play a 19-year-old keeper like this in our senior team for over these seasons and develop him up a lot, we definitely want to be using one that's got a higher ceiling than that. So this level of shot stopping is awesome. Parrying is good, handling is good, agility, good. In combination, this is good enough for sure. But yeah, we just have an issue that we are already, he's arguably better than the keeper we got now. Let's have a look. Similar age. I guess he's different. I don't know. It's complicated if he's better, to be honest. But same wages, and he's certainly better purchase in regards to the his, because it's a lot cheaper. And he's also 28. He's certainly a better purchase than one we got. But the thing is, we've already got the one we've got. So, and it doesn't make sense to cash out of the one we've got to get this one, when we basically want to cash out of the one we got to get. Ideally, somebody like this, we would have just rolled with this guy probably, to be honest. If he had a higher ceiling, I think we might have just got him, to be honest, and just tried to improve him a lot. But, not to be. Right, so this guy is a bit different because he does have the higher ceiling, but he is 2 years older, which means he won't be in the under-21s next season. Which is a big deal, because So yeah, I think we're just going to pass between the more expensive price, the fact that he is a couple years older, and well, no, this guy's just too expensive for us. This guy's just too old. Don't use left back. Right, so this centre half is like really good, I believe, but issues for us. So let's look at the training options. So he is what is he going to lose? Either 3 speed or a speed and 2 aerial ability. That all matters, but you know, whatever, it's not too bad for that age. And you get a control and dribbling, so not too bad. He's obviously 28's the end of his peak, so to speak. Endish, thereabouts. But he's excellent. He's kind of excellent for us for this role, this stopper role. That basically this guy had been playing all the time. He's just like a clean upgrade, basically. Like, it's just a clean upgrade of this guy. Basically, this guy's got like 80 tackling, which is awesome. But that's it. And then the other guy has got more than 80 tackling. Plus, you know, his plus is awesome in the air. Plus, you know, he's not slow. He's like, was he 60 something? Speed was decent. 67. It's actually pretty decent. Going down a bit. But still, like, this guy's excellent. But I think the issue for us is just we don't. It doesn't make sense with where we're at. I'm fairly confident, even if we don't improve our current team at all, we will just cruise to promotion next season. So he won't even be needed until the season after next, basically, at which point he's 30. And he may not even really be needed that season. The timeline doesn't fit, unfortunately. If he was 26, possibly. But obviously then he wouldn't, you know, whatever, it's just different, right? And then the wages are just super high, the purchase price. I think if we actually, you know, and even then it's not the type of player that we could bid half here and win. We wouldn't get him. It's just gonna tick too many boxes for too many people and be too noticeable on the auctions list at that super cheap price. So yeah, I think unfortunately it's a pass, but like, he's awesome though. This is the thing. Like, if we were just in a different position, like if this was in a couple months' time, basically, it's exactly the type of player. We probably would have the financial resources. We probably would have the wage capacity. He's probably just going to be a clean upgrade over what we got. Also, awesome composure and pretty good marking. He's just really good all around. Like, this is just top centre half. But I don't think we can tie up. Yeah, it doesn't make sense for us. Like, we need to be. It just doesn't fit the timeline. It's really unfortunate. I'd love to convince myself for some reason that we should buy him, but the thing is, it just not needed. It just makes much more sense for us, for example, to be like getting this type. It wasn't good timing. Getting this type of guy, like, he's not as good, but obviously, but his wages are just way lower. He's good enough for what we need, and he's really young, and we might be able to develop him up a lot. These are just the type of players that make more sense for us, unfortunately. And you know, and for example, this guy, it just makes more sense. Like, yeah, he's not as good, but his speed might get up to. It's about to go up 4. It might get up to mid-60s, which is similar to the other guy. You know, the tackling might get up there. He might end up. He probably won't. But again, like, this guy's just good enough for what we need, basically. So, need as in for this season in particular, because it doesn't even matter what the results are, and for next season. But yeah, this guy's awesome. That's what it comes down to. But anyway, right, moving on. 6 tackling. No, thank you. Too old. Not good enough. Not good enough. Pretty solid. Pretty solid. Not as good as the other guy. Not anywhere close. And he's older. But he's way cheaper and his wages are considerably less. Pretty useful. He's a type of player if we locked in and had a player like this in our starting squad. We probably would be in no rush to get rid of him. But you would be locking in pretty hard, I think, if you got somebody like this in your starting squad. I don't even know if quite this good is possible, but solid all round. But that's the thing, it's just the age and whatever, right? Like if we had the same player up here and he was like 23 or something, we'd get him, I think. But yeah, he ain't 23. Right, don't use right back. Don't use right back. Don't use right back. Too old. Don't use right wing back. Yeah, don't use right wing back. All these ones where we're not in position, we're just basically quickly scanning just in case they're awesome enough that it would justify adding a position to them. But none of these ones are. Right, we are in the market for a left winger of some description that ticks our boxes. This guy's like in the mold of sort of what we need, to be honest. For our tactic, so we need a left midfielder that gets up and back. So first thing is, can he get up and back the whole match? And I think this combination of basically endurance, natural fitness, speed and work rate is a pretty good combination. It's probably good enough that he generally lasts out most matches and that he will get up and back quick enough to generally help with all the attacking, defending, and both defending to attacking transitions and attacking defending transitions. It's probably good enough. And then I think there is a bit of an issue that the crossing's fine, but then I think some of this other stuff is lacking a bit. The passing would ideally be higher and the tackling would ideally be higher. I think we're just going to pass because I think what we really need is an up. We ideally end up with this guy longer term being the backup. So whatever we get has to be better than this. Just definitively better, I feel. Maybe that guy is. This guy does have higher passing. That other guy's pretty close to better at nearly everything else. So maybe. Not sure. I mean, if we were, we would be going for the bid. Because I do feel like there's a chance we don't get outbid for this guy. I think I just would rather wait for a better deal. I think we're alright with who we got, and I think the wages are a bit high for, like, we want closer to 250 to 300 for a player that's going to help us as much as this guy would. For this type of wages, we would be expecting a player that has more of what we need. Or wanting to get a player that has more of what we need. I think probably just not quite there, unfortunately. This guy, not as good for us as this other guy, pretty much every way. Like, the wages are higher, he's older, he's not as good for what we need. The passing is too low. Having said that, if the passing was like 75 or something, this guy might be exactly what we need, just about. Would it be enough tackling and whatever? Like, it would be enough. Anyway, wages would be too high though. Anyway, so too old. This guy, MCs. I think just a bit too old. The 80 tackling is tempting to try to make it, him do something somehow, but yeah, just not. Yeah, I think not enough other stuff anyway. This guy not good enough. This guy not good enough. This guy not good enough. Not good enough. Not good enough for what he costs. Not good enough. Not good enough. A left winger, we don't use him, so I don't think he's going to be good enough for the left midfield role. Just again, the passing is just not where we need it. Thing is, our left midfielder in particular is just an up and back one, and he helps a lot with the transitions, just like a pass to and from, quite a bit. So the passing matters, basically. Same deal, just not good enough to justify retraining. And AMC at this point for our creative forward, we know from the recent matches, if you've watched them for the senior team, that it only makes sense for us to keep that role on the team if the player is genuinely, basically the best player in the team. So we only can really be considering players through the lens of if they're just like ridiculously awesome, and none of these guys are ridiculously awesome, basically. So moving on. Don't use right winger. Don't use right winger. Don't use. Whoa, so fast. Jeez. So fast. That's a rare type of pace. Rarely you see it that high. Sorry, speed. I'm just looking at him because it is just a genuine. That is a genuinely rare thing. So I'm just really trying to assess him up, and if there's I'm going to check his training options. Right, so he's going to lose 2 of that now. But he is going to gain MR, which is a position in our tactic. 4 natural fitness. But he will lose to endurance. Right, okay. So I think if he's starting matches, the -2 endurance plus 4 natural fitness is probably a pretty neutral change. Interestingly, though, I was looking at him because I felt like he's sort of ticking more of the boxes for what we need for the left midfielder, because he has the high passing and the good enough tackling for what we need to get up and back, and good enough. So he's pretty good. I was actually looking at him for the left midfielder role. Unfortunately, we've already got the right midfielder. It would be so awesome if that was ML, I guess, but whatever. It's not surprising. This is a real complicated one if we end up doing this. I don't feel like this is a decision we could quickly do now, but we'll mull it over. Basically, I think in order to get this guy, we're either going to have to flip our tactic and because that other guy will get MR, so we could flip our tactic, and then this guy would have to add ML, so that so it's inverted, and then the left wing is the primary attacking wing, and the other one is the attacking and defending wing, and then the other guy will pick up his MR position through his training option, and then he can be the regular winger. And then actually we kind of, at that point, have the depth, because we have this guy for ML, but he would be winger. So we have in a bit of a weird position of, depending on which wingers are available in any given match, we will be inverting our tactic back and forth. but that's pretty easy to do at this point. It's just a case, at least with this. I mean, we haven't talked about this. I don't think it's a long-term one, but whatever. It's with this one in particular, it's pretty easy because it's just a case of swapping them two. That's it. But even when we're playing these other tactics, it's maybe tinker in the mid. It's pretty easy to do, basically, even mid-match. So I honestly think it's a serious consideration because it's a shame that he is about to lose 2 points of that. But that's the thing. It's like he's also what we need. This is the thing. If he was just an ML and the speed was just, let's say, 80, we would be considering him right now. And the thing is, 91 is way higher than 80 for speed. That just puts him into the realms of probably the fastest player on the pitch nearly every game. And then he will still have the AMR position, so we can still, when we have to roll the dice and throw him forwards, even though we won't play advanced wingers in our main tactic, I think, having it as an option tactically for matches where it just completely makes sense to do so might be something that, for the purpose of this video, kind of makes sense to sort of show people. Like, it's weird that could just easily win the game because of how the other team set up and you're not going to do it. So I feel like having that option there is interesting. We got to consider this, right? But it's not something we can quickly decide because I think there's multiple things that need to happen here, I think. So one is that the other key point here is with this speed, he's got super high work rate, so he's going to be up and back for everything. But the problem is that this endurance and natural fitness is just he's not going to last the match, so we're going to have to sub him every game. But that's something we can handle at the moment with our current team construction. And that's if you have a player that fast anyway, that's generally really interesting though. Like, we're kind of wasting his speed to some degree playing that role. Not entirely, but he's not going to be up like pushing it against the last man. Thing is, he can when it's in this role, and when this guy's injured or whatever. I don't know. I feel like he gives us quite a lot of tactical flexibility. Like, that type of speed is, we can just exploit that basically. It's pretty close to his ceiling, unfortunately. He won't get much better, but that's the thing. We don't need him to get that much better. All we really need is for him to stay the same to some degree. We just need him to not lose too much speed. It's -2, 89, 87. I don't know. I kind of feel like, how much is he again? He's 780. It's pretty interesting though, because he's not particularly good for that advanced winger, because for all of that speed, that when he beats, if he breaks clear or whatever, like, his finishing is just horrible. So it's just a really frustrating type of player that will get chances and then just miss them all. And then also his crossing is not particularly brilliant. Another problem with him is that his strength is pretty low. Typically, in order for him to break clear of everybody through to do something, normally involves beating one tackle, which you're going to struggle to do. But again, I don't even know if that's what you want, quite frankly. I don't know. I feel like he got the higher wages though. Higher than what we're looking for. We're just going to have to take this one out of the video after, because it's a huge decision. I think we're basically saying it's higher wages than we want to be paying. You only should be paying that type of wage for a player that's truly special. Is this guy that? I'm not sure. He is getting a position, but it is going to require us to add another position to another player. But having that extra position on this player, pretty much at that point, just covers us all. With the wingers, we're fine with all the wide midfielders we got then. So it completes the squad building. It does use the position up, but we are using it on a player like this that, if he is playing ML and MR, we kind of know that it's a good investment, from the perspective that this guy will be around in the team for 3 seasons, playing some kind of role, and that we would be happy to keep him around because various reasons. So we can improve him up still, and his wages aren't that high, and his value's pretty low. So there's a lot of scope for the value to grow. There's a lot of scope for us to improve him. Obviously, those things are related. And realistically, this guy is he's going to have a role in the team of some description. He may just end up the backup in a couple seasons' time, but he's a much better backup if he plays ML and MR. So it's a good investment to add the position to this guy as well. And I'd much rather have that type of wages, 500k tied up in that guy, than 700k in this keeper, or this 450k in this central midfielder. Maybe not the money in the striker. Again, but this guy is abnormally fast as well. Anyway, we're just gonna have to. When we make the decision, we'll do it at the beginning of the next video. So just watch that one if you want to know the outcome of this decision. There's got a lot to it. Unfortunately, it's a big decision because we got to add that one position, which is basically 10,000 manager skill points worth of stuff, which is significant. Realistically, if you want to put a monetary value on that, it's at least for us, it's at least £1 million, something like that. So it's a big decision. Well, I mean, technically speaking, I guess it's £500,000 in regards to how much the manager skill points are worth for us this season, but next season it would be $1 million. So, and next season will be the next chance we get to do it. So, yeah, anyway, argue that how you will. $500,000, $1 million, where it's a big investment either way for us. I don't know if it's worth speculating to put in the bid for half the amount realistically versus the wages and whatever, and the investment for adding the position and whatnot. You're not saving that much, and you're probably getting outbid for this guy just because of this really crazy high speed. And a lot of people will bid without checking these training options to see that it is going down a bit, which might negatively impact their decision. Because I think the off-putting part about this -2 speed isn't necessarily the -2 speed per se. I think it's the idea that it's probably going down every season from this point. But if if it is just -1 or -2 most seasons, then yeah. But the thing is, he is going to go from being some totally freak of nature 91 speed player into mid-80s in a few seasons. I do see this guy though, the other guy, when we're adding the position to, I feel yeah, it's super interesting though, because again, this guy in particular, this is the main thing. That's right. It's a really weird situation, to be honest. Right, we're just going to have to move on, and if you want to know the outcome, watch the next video. It's the biggest decision we would have made for all the transfers so far, I think, in regards to what's at stake here. And we do have to add, we're going to be committing the position as well. All these other transfers didn't involve that, and it is a one-off thing. Like these other transfers, if we change our mind, we can sell the players, we lose some cash or whatever. But this, the amounts we're losing are not anything close to basically the £1 million that this position is worth to us. Right. Not good enough. And don't use right winger, don't use right winger. Don't use right winger. Yeah, not alright or whatever. alright finishing, composure, speed. Quite a well-rounded striker, but we got good younger ones. Yeah, he's solid though, quite well-rounded. Just nice finishing, composure high enough. Long shots, it's not horrible, which is important. Not awesome at him, but if you're not afraid for him to take them, the movement's good enough, the speed is good enough, aerial ability is decent enough that he will occasionally win something, strength is good enough that he'll occasionally break a tackle, dribbling is good enough that if he gets a bit of space that he's not going to be slowed down too much when he's already in a very advanced position because he's striker, so won't have to travel that much distance. Passing and vision, not great, but also there is a big difference between 45 and 35 and like 20 and 15 sort of thing. So, and then high enough endurance and natural fitness for this speed and stuff for him to generally last the match out. Anyway, we don't need, and a bit old for our timeline and whatnot, but yeah, anyway, this is quite a well-rounded, this is the type of player that, like, realistically, any decent tactic with one striker, and if it's him, he's averaging a goal a game. That's what it comes down to. Because he can face against any kind of opposition, and he's got the tools to score, basically, and he's got the tools to score in nearly any type of tactic as well. Very flexible striker. Right, this guy. Right, so he's already got, to get to 69 speed from here, he already had his training boost that includes speed this season. So 69 speed is pretty high for, even though they have had his thing for a player of this age. Quite an interesting boost if you got him. So finishing and composure. So he's already had his finishing boost. His composure is only +1. I think his finishing composure is a bit behind from where we would ideally want. What does he cost? Yeah, it's 500,000. You might have just got him if he was like 100k or something. Certainly if he was like 33k or something. But I don't think it makes sense for us to get him for 500,000. Not good enough. Not good enough. Not good enough. And old. And not good. Right. Okay. There's another interesting. We're gonna have to. Thing is, we don't have the money to buy either of these guys. So in order to do it, we are going to have to play out the rest of the matches to get the dividend payment. It's a bit interesting because I think, unfortunately, if this guy was in the scouting pool yesterday, we received a transfer bid for this guy, and it might have made sense to have basically sold this guy to get the other guy, because obviously this guy's obviously better. But the thing is, the other guy has lower wages and whatever. But yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest. This is just I don't think we're going to get him. And so the only player I've seen in this pool is that the great big decision, basically on, was it this guy? Yeah, huge decision on that. And a decision that basically involves us adding that position, and once we do that, it really closes the door on the fact that we can buy a player of any position that just happens to have the right attributes for our tactics. So I think if it wasn't for that, we probably would just do this, play the matches and do this, but the fact that it closes the door on so many potential players for the rest of the month, and there's not how many days are there? Right, it's only the 18th, so there's a lot of days left this month still. Like, what's that, another 12 scouting pools? Right, Right, we'll come back. Let's go to the trial list. We can look at the... we normally do the training options next, but I'm just quickly going here. See, basically compared to this guy, like... I don't know. To be fair, I think this guy, the thing is, like... You can see him being better than that other guy when he's 17, but this is the thing. We do have to wait a bit of time till he gets to 17. And also his speed. Probably... I don't even know if it can be as high as this other guy. Even if he... Yeah. So, this guy's genuinely pretty damn fast for 17. That's the thing. That's his... I guess that's his ultimate... ultimately, his strength here is his speed. And it's this type of level you need to be at when you're 17, probably minimum, quite frankly, probably not even enough in order to get to this type of level when you're 24. So, I mean, he's probably a bit behind where he needs to be for that. But yeah, but you know, he's definitely on track to get to 80 something potentially. But I think my concern is just his finishing composure. He's had 2 lots of finishing boosts, and his second composure is only going to be +1. Which basically puts him at you know, not much better than this guy, really, even though this guy would still have 2 sets of finishing composure boosts. Anyway, so let's go to training. That's going to be quick. This guy I think we're using for the youth team. Yeah, alright. So... Oh, it's an interesting one because you can get +3 speed. Composure, not that big a deal. The movement, yeah, it matters a bit. But in regards to the first 3 rows, I think we'd rather the 3 speed than the 2 composure. Than for sure the 3 speed is worth 3 movement and a composure for the central midfielder, especially this guy, because I think he typically plays a more defensive role when he does play. I don't know if he should be because he's got decent finishing, whatever, but he does for us. Our vision same, this the same, right, and +4 long shots, which is interesting now because you're basically saying. I mean, honestly, I think it's this one just on the basis that because of the role he normally plays, it's normally a more defensive role, rightly or wrongly. But that's where our shortage is. We got a lot of good at more attacking ones. Because of that, the long shots isn't particularly useful, and neither is the movement, basically. So, but the speed is. So there we go. Right, this guy. Oh, cool. He gets +3 finishing, this is a guy who's got quite. This +3 finishing is really going to help. Something we're happy to see. Yeah, so it's just this one, I guess. Yeah, there is a reason to potentially take this one because the wages are based on the average. Like the attribute, the overall, and the overall is the average of the attributes. So when it's something like this, the positioning doesn't really matter. Now, this can be much more of a factor when you're talking the real high end because the wages start to get crazy high. So by taking this boost, for example, we could be adding taking this extra couple points could potentially be adding like 100k to his wages, the real top extremes. If it pushes his average up to the next level. So, right, this guy is probably just going to be the +4 speed because it also gets an extra movement. The composure matters a bit, but the movement also matters a bit. Tackling doesn't particularly matter that much. So, yeah, it's not that close. This guy, I think he's now the bench midfielder. No, he's not in the bench. He's just nothing. So let's just take the one with the most marking strength. I think I'm not going to care too much. I'll just say this one. Not sure. Doesn't really matter for that player. Right, this guy is the one with and needs the high long shots. So it's an extra 4. So that matters. 5 endurance. I think we're going to take this one because the long shots we care about. The dribbling we care a bit. The endurance we do care, but I think in the end we care more about those long shot points. And this guy will be probably starting in centre half for the youth team next season or playing a role for that. So like off the bench, one of the two. So aerial ability matters, same. Endurance matters a bit, strength matters a bit, determination is going to matter a bit if he's playing. Movement doesn't matter at all, vision matters a bit. I think it's this one. It's close, but I think it's this one. Unfortunately, yeah. Like, I don't think we're developing him for the long term, so the determination probably don't matter too much. I don't think he's just a bit behind where he needs to be at 18 years old. So yeah, we'll just get the attributes that matter to help us win, basically. And when we go to the training, if we ignore where was it? If we ignore the determination difference and the fact we don't care about the movement, so if we ignore these two, then I think this side is a little bit stronger for us, basically. Right. Quickly go through the academy trialists. Natural fitness, 46, fine. Finishing, I already knew that. Aerial ability, 57, super good. We're waiting on that. This guy's probably just a keeper at this point. Parrying, one of the ones, not brilliant. Maybe he slides. Oh no, we're waiting for the shot stopping, sorry, for that guy. And then this guy, the natural fitness has come out, not particularly great. This is a guy that we were happy to rotate out, but we didn't have anything better to put him in. And then this guy rushing out. I think this guy we just... yeah. So yeah, a couple of good keepers to hold on to there. Obviously in the end we probably don't need to graduate both of them though. Don't use left winger. Just not good enough passing. Not good compared to the other keepers. Don't use DR. Don't use AML. Too long to find out the passing and vision. Don't use DML. Don't use DR, and we already got one clogging up who has the key attributes that we know, and this guy, where is he? The tackling's still a way off, so I don't think we're going to bother, even though he, in theory, looks like he could end up being a pretty damn good right back. Marking not awesome, but whatever. If you were using right backs, then you would definitely, be thinking about that guy for sure. This guy, we got those two other keepers that are just probably better. This guy, I think just the tackling, and he's just behind where he needs to be. Not a good enough marking and blah blah blah. Just not good enough in the key attributes, but the average score 39, pretty high. Passing is next. Vision a bit low. He's only going to be the more box to box type role. To be honest, that might be the only one we end up with. I think for that, I don't know. He just feels a bit low on the whole. He could be good with all this other stuff coming up. Potentially he does come in because the passing is next, but in the end you are waiting for the speed in the work. You're just waiting ages, and the endurance isn't particularly high for the role either. I think we'll just give that a pass. Right, don't use wing back, although looking, yeah, okay. And then don't use left winger, don't use right winger. It's too many question marks. Waiting ages if you get this guy. And don't use left back. So I think, unfortunately, we are still holding on to this guy because I just don't think there was anything here that made sense. Only possibly this guy, but honestly, I don't think so. I don't think so. Just because we were waiting ages. At least this guy, not waiting. I guess at this point, a lot for this guy. He needs a lot of rounding on his attributes, so a lot's just going to hinge on this determination. Needs to be pretty close to 60, I believe, and we'd have to know we're going to start him in their youth team from when he's 16 to give him a good chance to catch up loads of attribute points. Because the key stuff, a lot of the key stuff is where it needs to be. But then there's other stuff that just needs loads of, like, the positioning and the vision just needs to go up loads and loads, basically. I think in a way, like, the low speed is really bad, but like that actually works really well with the low endurance and low natural fitness, because if they're really slow, like, they don't need as much endurance and natural fitness. So that's kind of like a mini blessing in disguise. I don't know. We're going to roll with this guy just because, again, as soon as a good player, a good alternative pops up, we would have taken him, but there hasn't been any the last couple of days. Right, so we're just going to have to mull over this other decision. If we are to buy this other guy from the scouting pool, not only is it a big decision, but we can't even do it anyway until we play these matches first. And yeah. And even then, it's going to tying up like 78k signing fees, like 1.3, 1.4 million. And we currently basically got 1.3, 0.4. So it's basically $1 million out of the yeah, and it's starting to push our weight. It's like, yeah, it's a big decision. So all right. We'll cover it at the beginning of the next video if you're curious to know the outcome of this decision. So cheers, we'll see you then.